I just came across the motivation for my next quirky build. Check this out. Hi dear.
Hi.
What you doing?
Just sitting here with my feet propped up, reading.
Propped up, you say? Is that a milk crate?
It's a milk crate from my uncle's restaurant.
I think we can do better. That's what we call Southwest Iowa decor, and we're going to remedy that. What do you think?
Sure.
So here's what I came up with. I'm going to cut a bunch of hexagons. Hexagons, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, hexagons. Each cut is a 30-degree angle. So 30 degree, 3 times, what was that, 12, right? 360? Yeah. So each one's 30-degree angle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a bunch of them. So the top of the footstool is going to be made up of about 2 inches. And that's so it's just not one solid block. I mean, that'd be kind of neat too, but there's really no reason to do that. So I'm going to cut a bunch of 2 inchers to make the top, and then when I'm shooting for a size roughly like 16 inches by 16 thereabouts. I'm not even sure if it's going to be, it's going to be the same on all sides. But once I get to about that size, maybe, so the total length, if it's going to be 16 by 16, once I get to the 12 to 14 inch, I'm going to cut some longer ones, and those will be the legs. And then after that, I'm going to keep adding on, but make them various sizes. So it kind of looks like this weird geometric shape. And I'll just kind of add on as I go, I think. So really what it's going to look like, you really won't even see all the legs. It'll almost look like it's floating. It'll just look like this random shape of, or random pieces of hexagon wood. These are pine. I've been, playing around with this. These are pine. Eventually I make the whole thing out of cedar. There's probably under 40 pieces right here. In order to make the size I need for the 2 inches for the top, I think I'm going to need about 70 of them, maybe, something like that, before I start adding on the other ones. In other words, there's going to be this is going to be a dusty project, and we're talking hundreds and hundreds. When you cut all these things, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of cuts. What I'm going to start out doing is I'm going to cut some 4-footers probably, and then just start chopping them up in 2s, and when I get them out, and then I'll start adding the legs. But the key is really, each one of these sides, I mean, the 30 degrees, that's easy to keep, but keep consistent. But each one of these sides here has to be exactly the same, otherwise they won't fit together, properly. And, it doesn't have to be super exact. None of my stuff really is. I can fill in the gaps. It's such a, it's such a kind of wonky, it's such a wonky end grain that I don't think you'll see little gaps. And then from the side, you definitely won't see any gaps. That's no big deal. But the closer that each one of these sides are the same, the better. So that's the plan. I'm going to fuss around with that, getting that right. When I get that right, I'm going to cut a bunch of 4-footers and then start lopping them up into 2 inchers. Time to turn on some tunes and make some sawdust. Alright, I finished sanding these little guys, which are going to make up the top, but I still have to sand the legs and the skirt. But to be honest, I'm really tired of sanding, so I'm going to start assembling the top, and when I get to this point, I'll start sanding again. I'm going to assemble threes with just some wood glue and 16 or 2-inch 18 gauge thread nailer. And if you're wondering about this, this is called Denny foil. When I was a siding guy, we used to put this on the outside corners and inside corners before house wrap even. So I had like 10 rolls of this stuff, so I use it. It's great for a gluing platform. I also keep a bottle of water on hand and just kind of keep everything wet. I'll probably flip it over and wipe it down, spray it and wipe it every once in a while.
But this denim quilt works great. It's kind of a running joke in my family. I wrap all my presents with it, and Kat uses it for all sorts of stuff. I think I'm down to 2 rolls, which scares me. But anyway, all right, let's give this a shot. And as I was sanding these, I put all the good sides down. I know I screwed up a few, but I tried to keep them all down, so I'm going to keep them all orientated towards the bottom. And 2-inch nail, so a 2-inch nail, these things are 1.25 inches, so I should be able to go right through. Just one, I think, is enough. Nah, I might use 2 on the, I think I'll hit it from 2 different directions, so I'll use 2 on the first one here. And I don't care if this backside's a little, the tops aren't going to be perfect, but since it's, some of these got off a little bit, but it's not going to matter because the top of the footstool is facing down. Okay. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. Getting the first one, I gotta be a little careful. Because everything else kind of plays out for these guys, don't they? All right, and let's just keep going to town. What I really originally wanted to do, I wanted to have the legs in such a way where I could have 2 more rows around the outside and kind of just pretty much so they would look like they were floating. But what I discovered, if I did the legs 1 row in, it would be too small, and 1 row out, I would need a lot more wood because every time you add 1 more row, it adds about 40 pieces. At this point, this outside, there's about 39, 40 pieces. So that was just too many. So this was a good happy medium. So there'll be 1 more skirt. There'll be 1 more row of longer boards, various. I'll stagger them around the outside edge. And it'll kind of look like it's floating, but you'll probably see the legs a little bit, but not a big deal. All right, I got these 2 stretchers in. I cut these, the ones that go in between those, to size. Actually, I pre-drilled some holes, and I screwed these stretchers down to the tabletop too, so lots of strength. I'll glue these guys up and screw them in. All right, it's all finished, top and bottom, with linseed oil and mineral spirits. One last step I'm going to do, I mentioned this isn't going to be in direct, it's not going to get wet all that often, but the part that rots on anything that's on the ground are the feet that are in contact with the ground. So what I do on some of my outside projects, I like to put a little epoxy on the end grain on the feet, so that way it won't suck up moisture. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and then it's time to present to the missus. Oh dear!
Yes, dear.
I got a present for you.
Really? For me?
For you.
Ooh.
Check this out.
Wow. Very nice. Ooh, and comfy too.
What do you think?
I love it. That is so cool.
What do you think, dog?
You like that, Roxy?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of an improvement.
Yes, nice and solid.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Now what are we going to do with that? Can we get rid of it, please?
No, no way. It's a family heirloom.
Oh, jeez. All right, enjoy your footstool.
Thank you.